My name is Bulce LaBruce, and I'm a film director, theater director, photographer, and artist. We've done something pretty unorthodox in terms of the staging of Pierrot Lunaire. We're trying to really respect the original material and the music and the poems by Bergerac, but we've added a whole dramatic kind of narrative element to it, which is not how it's usually presented. It's usually presented just by a performer, a singer, but without a kind of dramatic application to it. So I've added a whole pretty complex narrative, which is kind of an experiment.
Is it a concrete narrative that we can follow?
It is, I mean, on a certain level, but it's also meant to be somewhat abstract. I mean, it's still mostly a visual piece to accompany the music. It does have a distinct narrative. Yeah, it's the first time I've actually directed someone else's material, that pre-existing material. And it's the first time I've done, worked with an actual classical band and the conductor, so it's fun. Susanna Zaxa, who I've worked with on 4 theater projects now, was the star of one of my movies, The Raspberry Reich, and it was the first time I worked with a trained stage actress, and she encouraged me to try directing theater. It's a very challenging thing for Susanna to do, because she's delivering the poems of Bergerac, but with a whole different narrative context surrounding it. Pierrot Lunaire is about castration, and it's about a female to male transsexual who wants a cock, a real cock. So she is trying to find someone who she can steal their cock, basically. So she's taking this appendage and putting it on her own groin. So it's like it's about how the body is kind of in her mind. The body that she has and the body that she wants are different. I guess it's about how the mind can construct its own body somehow. Even though Pierrot Lunaire is somewhat experimental kind of musical piece, it's still classical on a certain level. So the treatment of the body, the emphasis on the castration and the dick and the pornographic imagery is already really being used in a very unorthodox way in terms of what you would expect from classical Schönberg piece. So that's already taking it in a completely unexpected direction. But on the other hand, I mean, I think what we're doing has a lot to do with just classical opera, which also has this kind of, extremely kind of melodramatic use of the body, or ballet. There's a lot of grotesque violence in opera and ballet, and so I guess we're making it a little more contemporary and more about and queering it. I mean, we're making it because it's about a female to male transsexual. There's a lot of homosexual undertones and kind of issues of transgendered identity. Pierrot is a character who's completely demented. He goes mad and believes at the end of the piece that he really does have a cock, a real cock. So he's kind of in a delusional state. But at the same time, I do present him as a kind of heroic character. He's very kind of romantic and swaggering, and at the end he sort of becomes a saint as well. So I use characters who a lot of people would think are grotesque or kind of freakish outsiders, and make them seem either more normal and kind of romantic, or make them into kind of anti-heroes of some kind. But that's part of the queer sort of project, is to give legitimacy to these characters who are marginalized by straight society. Celebrates extreme difference and behavior that is not sanctioned by normal society. When I was in university, I took a dance minor. I majored in film and minored in dance.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of a certain amount of dance training and choreography back in university. I mean, both Chief Blackie and my last stage production in Berlin, The Bad Breast, had a lot of choreography in them.
Okay.
In my films as well, in my film Otto, I have short dance films within the film, which were choreographed as well. I always seem to use bodies as both kind of a screen, a projection for sexuality, but also for as you say, mutilation or disfigurement. I mean, I'm not sure why that is, but it's the same in Pierrot Lunaire. We're just working with prop dildos. The phallus is like one of the main characters of the piece.
Cassanders? In dem blanken Kopf Cassanders? In dem blanken Kopf Cassanders? In dem blanken Kopf Cassanders, dessen Schein die Luft durchsickert, und Pierrot mit Heuchlerminen zärtlich ein Schädelbohrer.
Berlin's one of my favorite cities. It's still a place that you can live relatively cheaply. There's a lot of kind of there's a lot more free time to do like things, creative things. There's a more bohemian atmosphere in certain segments of the city, and yeah, just visually, it's really a very dramatic city, and kind of a 24-hour kind of like party city, and so it's very stimulating. Well, I've really been spending time in Berlin for the last 20 years, but mostly in the last, I guess, 7 or 8 years, I've been spending more and more time here. I've shot 2 films here and edited them, and this is my 3rd theater production all in the space of 8 years. For the theater projects, we get money from, from government funding agencies, and I've gotten money in the past from the Berlin Film Fund, and yeah, for the kind of work I do, there's a lot more. I've never really been able to tap into too much government sort of financing in Canada, especially for my films that are really more kind of pornographic. Here, and here, theater is much more developed, experimental theaters.